So tomorrow I'm getting on a plane and heading back to Perth, Australia for Christmas holidays. I'll be there for like a month into the new year. And I'm excited about going home and seeing the friends and fam and spending more time in Perth. And I do this every year. And every time I go back just beforehand, it makes me you kind of think to all the times you spent as I guess in your childhood growing up in a place and that kind of like understanding you had of your hometown. And you think about the recent times that you visited and then you kind of wonder, oh, I wonder what's going to be different this time. And the as an Australian who lives in the States, and I have lived in the States for the majority of my 20s and 30s, you do become like somewhat of an alien in your own well, you're an alien in your new home. And so when you go home, you're like, oh, I'm around my people once again. I'm not, my nationality or my accent doesn't make me unique anymore. I guess like I'm just a fucking regular white guy. I don't look Australian over here. But as soon as I open my mouth, you get people like, oh, what's going on with you? Where the fuck are you from? Are you British? That's what most people say here. But anyway, back there, you don't get that anymore. You just like, you fit in. And it's strange going back because there's just by default more people like you. And it really does kind of like allow you to retrace your steps a little bit and be like, how did I become the person that I became? How did I become the fuck up that I became? Like the parts of your life where you're like, okay, I'm gonna own this as like a definitely a nature thing, and then there's other things where it's like, oh baby, that's nurture, that's fucking Perth, mate. Some of the things that I say or do. And to be honest, a lot of it is around fucking drinking or exploring, pursuing titillation, partying. There is a sense of isolation growing up in Perth, one of the most isolated major cities in the world. So you grow up with this kind of chip on your shoulder a little bit to be like, we're missing out on something. And so there's always like a sense of kind of like, well, I've got to get out there and go find the good parties. And because I'm missing out, I've missed out my entire childhood. So it does definitely have kind of like somewhat of a slingshot effect. Once you get to your early adulthood, you're kind of like, all right, let's fucking get out there and get amongst it. And then maybe like when you're there in your sense of isolation, you kind of like, oh yeah, you can allow yourself to go a bit crazy in terms of well, it's like no one's watching almost. You may as well get really fucked up because like what else is there to do here? I don't know, that's maybe my kind of like couple of semesters of psychology, psychoanalysis of the Perth childhood experience, at least how it impacted me from a nurture perspective. And yeah, like I guess you go home, you get to be amongst your people, your culture, you get to reintegrate into that. Get to see how cities change in particular ways. And what's interesting now with Perth, and I saw this on I follow Perth in West Australia, Australia pretty religiously on Reddit because it's just interesting to kind of keep my finger on the pulse that way. And they were talking about the amount of migration that's happening in WA is unparalleled at the moment. And that's kind of interesting just to see things change. But anyway, you go back in there and you kind of you reintegrate for a little while and then you go back out. And you know, I've realized that I've met a few people in my life who are like thoroughly international people. Have you ever met those people where it's like they've got a very neutral accent? You ask them about their childhood and their parents worked in kind of like aviation or banking. They went to like international schools. It's like, well, from 7 to 10, I was in Singapore. Then I went to Hong Kong. they were in Africa for a few years, and it's kind of like, and where are you from? They're like, oh, mother's Swiss, and daddy's from Bulgaria. It's just like it's this fucking crisscrossy map of a life, and you ask them about their life, and it's strange. They're kind of like I'm a bit of an alien here, but I'm very much an Australian alien. I like to think I've kind of like I was never the most ochre of Australians to begin with, but there's certain things where it's like, yeah, that sucks about Australian culture. I'm just gonna like remove that little part, and you trim the edges off. But fundamentally, I'm kind of like an Australian guy, and that's there's no getting away from it, nor am I trying to escape it. With these international people, they're kind of like unnerving to be around. It's kind of like, who are you? From kind of like an evolutionary perspective, it puts you on edge a little bit. You kind of like, I don't know, you meet the man with the horse with no name or some shit. You're kind of like, that's unnerving. So I think it's cool to bring a bit of a bit of your culture with you. Well, I feel like I can't shake it, but I'm definitely trying to get rid of the stuff that I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. Like I don't need to kind of like constantly be searching for the next best thing or kind of like second guessing the party that I'm at anymore. Cause I'm not stuck in Perth and I'm not 9 years old in the northern suburbs. Yet there's still like a part of me that thinks that way. So I guess I'm kind of blaming and then I'm also kind of like I shouldn't be fucking blaming my culture on everything. But yeah, sometimes it is a part of you. You bring it with you. And then yeah, it's up to you to kill the fucking kill your the cultured version of you, well, the bad cultured version of yourself, drown him on the beach and then come out as a new man. Don't know what I'm talking about. I'm waffling. Catch you on the next one. Bye.